Hello everyone and welcome to a new series in which I'll be covering all weapons you unlock in Combat Master. I'll also be covering the best attachments to run with these guns and their respective playstyles. I'll also cover weapons that will be added in seasonal updates. Before I make this intro longer and you are unclipping of the video, let's get started. Starting this entire series off, we're going to look at the MP.V, which is this game's version of the MP5. You unlock this SMG when you start playing the game, aka by level 1. I don't know, I use aka a lot. And as the first SMG or the first gun, it's really solid in close quarters combat, but it mostly shines in mid to long range gunfights. And it's actually pretty accurate compared to most of the ARs in my testing, and rivals most ARs in the game, excluding the ARs Val. Most of the time, you usually just click heads while aiming down sights so you can get most of your kills, but some players can catch you off guard and kill you, especially if they have a shotgun. But I made a class for you guys to use the MP.V as a beast while ADSing and popping heads, while when a lucky enemy gets close to you who doesn't have a shotgun, luckily, you can tear them up quickly but not as fast as something like shotguns. The first attachment you need is a tactical suppressor. Sure, sound suppression isn't needed in such a fast-paced game where people can wield any assault rifle and just kill you instantly, but the tactical suppressor is needed for a few. It gives off 20% sound suppression, which isn't as useful, but it gives off a hefty 42% increase in fire range, which is needed for such a class. But it also gives 28 milliseconds of slower ADS speeds and 8% of decreased sprint speed. The barrel in this build is a tactical barrel, which gives off 15% less vertical recoil and 10% less vertical bounce. We do get 6% less slower movement and 4% worse hit by accuracy. And the optic in this build is the Vortex Venom. Sure, the MP.V has an inbuilt optic, but it doesn't give you any added buffs or any added negatives. The Vortex gives off a 2-time zoom for much more range, even though it gives off 4 milliseconds of slower ADS speeds, which is much more compared to other sites that don't give you a lot of speed while ADSing, but it gives you off more zoom. I don't know what the hell I just said, forgive me, it's at night. And without the base sight, which doesn't give you even upcon, I prefer using a different sight. And the stock used is the Fortis Ultra Light, which increases the sprint speed by 4%, also with 6% less vertical recoil and 10% less vertical bounce, but it gives 15% worse hipfire accuracy. And the most important attachment, which isn't an attachment but you can call it whatever, is FMJ. Calling it an attachment might confuse you guys, but this increases bullet penetration through materials. Not only that, it can also add 20% to fire range, adding up into ridiculous range. The final attachment is the Mil foregrip for the underbarrel, which isn't classified as an underbarrel. I'm not a gun dude, I am not sure, as someone from the military. This attachment gives off 6% less vertical recoil, but also gives 2% slower movement speed and 3% slower ADS speed. For the secondary, I recommend using the Makarov, but for close quarters, I prefer melee option, mostly leaning to the Karambit since it's broken than the normal knife or punch daggers. Lethals are optional, but I use throwing knives since they are more, you know, dangerous and I don't get paranoia whether I can blow myself up but not kill the enemy. So I prefer using throwing knives so I don't kill myself. The skills used are EOD for 50% less explosive damage since a lot of people in this game really like to just abuse GL9s and impact grenades. And not only that, they will also abuse the GL9 a lot, like Epstein with 8-year-olds. And then you have Sonar, which creates a ping showing nearby enemies' positions after a kill. It does go away for a second, but it's really useful. And then for the other tactical playstyle skill, you get sprint reload. Like in the name, you reload while sprinting, which means you can just go hide in a corner and then just reload, since that's what people call tactical in quotes. And then the final thing to say, I actually just following the script. I don't know why I'm reading through this, but forgive me. Now you may wonder why there is so much decrease in ADS speed, but it won't really affect you as much since in this game you get a high boost of everything. But in this build it's mostly affected by slower movement and slower ADS speeds, but with movement mechanics like jumping and sliding you can outmaneuver through that. And then for the ADS speed, it's mostly been neutralized by the fast decay of the build, making up for this. And this build isn't made for close quarters but to help neutralize players who get really up close to your face. So technically it's there as a defense, but it's built for mid to long range fights since it really just demolishes anything and dominates everything in mid to long range fights for an SMG. But comparing it to something like an AS Val, it really doesn't make much difference. But it's not good for risking it for run and gun. But if you want to, it can work. The hip fire is good, even though it got reduced slightly. And I mean, it's mostly for tactical plays, not just risking your life. And if you want to get some nukes, you can go for it. Anyway, thank you for watching the video till now, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't click off earlier, leave a like and subscribe. Leave the post notification button to get the next episode of this new series and more content like this. I am sorry for the audio quality. My mic got a bit disrupted, so I had to get some random earpiece so I communicate. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.